On Wednesdays, we were mint.
We were mint. Yeah.
What's going on, everyone? This is the Aggie Game Day Extra podcast. I'm senior Texas A&M sportswriter here at KBTX, Travis Brown. I'm alongside Tyler Shaw, our intrepid sports director.
Intrepid?
Tyler,
wow.
Yeah, how are you? Yesterday at the A&M baseball game, they played Lamar. Michael Early got ejected for the first time in his head coaching career. Have you ever been ejected from a sporting event?
No, I have fouled out of basketball games, if that counts.
No, it needs to be like a double tech situation.
Yeah. Actually, yes. So this one was not like a sanctioned school tournament. This was it's kind of like a church league tournament thing we were doing, and.
Oh, getting tossed out of the church league.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did get tossed
Some
from
of the
that
most
one.
vicious athletic endeavors I participated in have been church league softball.
So there was a guy, this is basketball, guy on a fast break going to score. And this was like in kind of crunch time. This is fourth quarter. It's a close game. I'm the closest guy, so I'm running on defense, and I basically go to block him in transition, and I fouled him because I didn't want to give up the wide open layup. And I guess I came down and fouled him too hard, and the refs didn't like it, and they tossed me from the game right from that. And it sucked. So I left the gym, and there was probably 2 or 3 minutes left in the game, and I just couldn't do anything, and just hope for the best. But yeah, I thought it was a little weak ejection, but they did not like the hard foul. But what else was I supposed to do? Just let him score?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
I wasn't trying. I mean, he wasn't hurt.
Was this one of those situations where you were drastically taller than the person you fouled?
Yeah.
See, we us short guys, we get the benefit of the doubt there.
I guess, but man, that one really pissed me off.
Because if you're on a breakaway and I hack you across the arms, I'm just a short guy, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I don't like that either. Because I can get fouled all day and they won't call it. But the second I, just in transition go to block him, and I hacked his arm. Yes, I did. Mm-hmm. I don't need to get tossed for that. It was a little ridiculous.
Us short guys, we have to, it's like the Wade Taylor foul, which I know you love. Us short guys, we have to find our way around the world.
That's
in
true.
Sports.
You gotta be savvy.
So I was thinking about this when I was in college on the TCU team. I can't remember who we were playing, but I was bullpen catcher, so I was like the lowest man on the totem pole. And there was a bad call at third base, and one of our star players just started letting the umpire have it from the dugout. But we were all kind of congregated together, so he turned around and didn't know who had said it, and he literally kind of pointed and said, "Who said that?" And all of a sudden, I just feel someone hit my leg, and I'm like, okay, well, here's where I take one for the team. So it was me.
Yeah, let's
toss
the bullpen catcher.
And so I technically got run, but then the second base umpire came in and talked to him and said, no, he saw the whole thing.
Oh.
It wasn't me. It was that guy. So he got run. So I got to stay.
Yeah.
But I got technically run, but then didn't get so.
That's too bad that the other guys saw it. Had they not, that would have been great on your team's part.
And I just get to go sit in the clubhouse and drink Gatorade and kick my feet up. It'd be great.
Not a bad deal.
No,
was it me or was that early ejection pent up from the weekend in Austin?
I think a little bit. Now the fun fact about that is the second base umpire for that game, John Head, was the umpire in Austin who ran Gavin Cash.
Well, he's just got it out for them.
But
right?
now he wasn't involved at all in this. The play yesterday was Lamar hit a runner on. Lamar batter hit a chopper that bounced really high. Aiden Sims grabbed it, tagged the runner between home and first. But the umpire said he missed the tag. It was pretty obvious from the replay that he did make the tag. That play is not reviewable. I didn't realize this, but tag plays in between bases aren't reviewable. It's just at the base that you can review it. And Early wanted the umpires to huddle up and talk it over and kind of make an appeal to one of the other umpires. And the home plate umpire wasn't having it. And then the next at-bat, 3-run home run. and early just bounced out of that dugout and did one of these numbers, whatever, and the umpire gave it right back to him. And I asked him kind of off the record after the game, when a player gets his first college hit, they always save the ball for him so he has a keepsake. I said, is there any kind of keepsake from a
first ejection?
He didn't. He said no, there wasn't. Just a night watching. But he did get a perspective that A&M was not swinging at some great pitches because he was watching the TV from that directly behind home plate.
Yeah, you get a different angle,
so you got
I guess.
The different angle. So he did mention that he didn't like a lot of the pitches they were swinging at. We talked a lot of baseball at the series recap. Of course, they beat Lamar last night, but we discussed kind of A&M's weekend at Texas and what they have left in front of them if they want to make the postseason on our series recap. So you can go to KBTX.com, find that, or if you're listening in our podcast feed, it should be the one right before that if you want a little bit more breakdown of baseball. But we thought, since things are slowing down a little bit right now, we're going to talk a little bit about how Bucky McMillan's first roster is shaping up. Because when he got here, there was one guy.
Yeah.
It was Chris McDermott, and that's the only one that we knew was going to be in. Now they're up to 9 players, mostly through the transfer portal. They did keep one incoming freshman. So yeah, we'll put it up here. Tyler, how do you kind of see this starting to take shape a little bit?
So, I like some of the guys they've gotten. They've gotten a lot of experienced guys. Some other younger ones. Shout out the 00 Oklahoma for Duke Miles.
Oh, well, I ran this through the spell check.
Yeah,
it did not catch that. It's Oklahoma.
Did not catch Oklahoma. I think they've got some. Now, again, and I've said this from the beginning, you can't really judge Bucky ball year one here just because of how, it is really a ragtag trying to get. Now, I think he's done a good job of the pieces available that he's trying to put together, but I really don't think this roster is going to be indicative of kind of what the future years hold, and a lot of it, is you're bringing in some experience, some guys. Others are just a lot of unknowns, like the one of the most recent, Jamie Vincent, Texas. He hardly played, so all you really know about him is just kind of, and he was a freshman. Just his prospect coming out, but a couple of 6'11" guys had some height. It'll be interesting to see if they can kind of break the rotation. But I guess Jakari Lane, Mackenzie Mbako, those are two guys that you would imagine we'll start seeing some heavy playing time right away.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. So for those of you who are listening and not watching, I'll briefly go through. You have forward Jamie Vincent from Texas, guard Marcus Hill from NC State, guard Josh Holloway from Samford, Duke Miles, a guard from Oklahoma, forward Zach Clements from Kansas, guard Jakari Lane from North Alabama, forward Mackenzie Mbako, who we'll get to specifically here in a little bit, from Indiana, and then Chris McDermott, the holdover from Texas A&M, guard Jeremiah Green from Compass Prep. He's the incoming freshman who decided to go ahead and stick with the Aggies after Buzz Williams' departure. There's a couple guys we're going to get to on here. I think that there is a certain level of upside here.
Yeah.
There's guys like Mbako and maybe Jakari Lane, Marcus Hill that have done it at a high level and are veteran guys. But even with Jakari Lane has done it at North Alabama. He has been an all Southern Conference, I believe.
That sounds right.
Guy at North Alabama for several years. And so, but he's done that at a lower level. Will that translate to the SEC? I know you have some of his stats kind of pulled up over there.
Yeah, it's impressive because at just last year, he averaged over 17 points, which that's amongst the tops in the nation, and shooting at a high level, over 40% for three, almost 80 at the free throw line, 42 overall field goals, 4 assists. The numbers are great. But again, it was at North Alabama. It's not an SEC school. But for this roster, this team, I don't think it matters. I think he'll especially with his experience, should be able to be a guy that kind of comes in and is a little more of a veteran presence, and I would imagine would kind of be a key contributor, at least early on, before they kind of find their identity.
Another one that piques my interest before we get to the guys who have really proven themselves, Josh Holloway, because he didn't have just blown away numbers at Samford, but he's a guy who comes in who knows the system. And it is a very different system than probably a lot of these guys necessarily have played with, the amount of pressing they're going to do, with how high energy it's gonna be, with the kind of steals turn into offense and how fast they want to play the offense. I doubt that they've done it to that level at the places that they've been, but Josh Holloway has. And so I think that'll be a key component of that. And I'll let you talk on Josh. But the other thing, too, is, and, we talked to his former AD over at Mountain Brook, where he was the high school, and he emphasized the fact that at the end of games, a lot of times coaches will do the offense-defense substitution thing and constantly having guys coming in and out. Bucky McMillan is a guy who does that the entire game.
Right.
And they never had problems with parents complaining about their kid getting enough playing time because everybody was playing. So there's a good chance they might do that heavy rotation with a lot of these guys.
Yeah, and if we do, I talk about being a key contributor. There's 9 guys on the roster right now. They might all be key contributors next year just because of the style they play and the system they play. Josh Holloway, obviously very familiar with that. Jakari Lane's an Alabama guy. I don't know exactly the personal connection there, but he had one heck of a high school career too. Won the Class 7A, which is the highest in Alabama state championship. I actually got to kind of pull up some of his highlights there from high school. Very athletic guy. Very, again, he's on the smaller side, listed at 6 foot. I never know what those listings, if they're true or not. So
right.
We'll see when we see him in person. But those 2 guards, I would imagine would be key contributors just because of kind of knowing the system a little, and I would imagine Bucky McMillan, with Jakari Lane being an Alabama guy, knows him very well. Josh Holloway, obviously. And the fact that Josh is one of the guys that followed Bucky over, I would imagine it's because Bucky believes that he can do it at this level, that he's ready for kind of taking that step to be a Power 5 player.
While I mentioned some other, I'm gonna do more producing on the fly. Go over here and pull up my Twitter because I have a picture I want to pull up from last night's game. I like that. Duke Miles is another one who has some experience under his belt, and from Oklahoma. Zach Clements. You have a guy like Zach Clements who doesn't have a whole lot of playing time, but came from a school like Kansas. Oklahoma has a pedigree of basketball. You have Jamie Vincent coming from Texas, deciding to stay in town and knowing what kind of these schools have in common and what's going on. We're having some technical difficulties over there. Just search my name and Twitter, and again, gotta love producing on the fly.
Yeah.
Should have had this pulled up and thought about it in the system already. But yeah, those are some guys that, I'm going to be very curious to talk to Chris McDermott, and just kind of get his story about why he decided to stick around. And even if it wasn't the fact that Buzz Williams wanted, wow, that's old of my Twitter.
Yeah, what is this?
Was looking for, well, okay, we'll just get into it and I'll see if I can find it or whatever later.
Hey y'all, it's Max, and if you've been watching the pod, you know this by now, that we have a new official sponsor of the Aggie Game Day Extra podcast. And it is a familiar face. You know him, you have seen him around Aggieland for many, many years. Say hello to C&J Barbecue. Now, I don't know if there are many of you out there, but if you live in the Brazos Valley and you have not been to C&J Barbecue yet, what on earth are you guys doing? The crew at C&J started out smoking just about 20 pounds of meat a day in a tiny gas station on Harvey Road. Now, they serve over 2,200 pounds every single day across 3 locations. So you know it's good. They've fed President Bush, catered for Willie Nelson. Yeah, Willie. But most importantly, they've been feeding Aggies and locals for over 40 years. In fact, I had myself some at a catering event last weekend, and the brisket was absolutely amazing. Don't even get me started on the sides and the appetizers, because Justin is always cooking up some amazing stuff. Just get there, see, smell, and taste for yourself. Tell them the guys sent you. C&J Barbecue, a family tradition.
There at the basketball, but Bucky McMillan has been known to bring his staff over to the baseball games, and if they have a guy in town who is let's see, is that
is not it.
No. If they will bring some of their recruits over, and yesterday they brought over a name that I think a lot of people recognize because of the name. That is one Texas Tech's Federico.
Yeah.
A 6'11" forward who did a decent amount for the Red Raiders last year, and he was here he's in the transfer portal here talking to A&M. So that would be another big guy from a big basketball program coming in.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I don't know where they are in the process with him, but that would be huge if they get someone like that. Size is something A&M hasn't really had a whole lot of. This last year it worked out well for him with the posts they had and the centers, but before that, they didn't really have kind of that a whole lot of that presence inside. So yeah, if you could get a guy like Federico, and again, there's a reason Zach Clements was at Kansas. He hasn't seen that. There's a reason Jamie Vincent was recruited to Texas. These guys are Power 5 players, and now they're going to get their shot. They're probably going to get more playing time here than they would anywhere else, just because they're just trying to put together a roster at this point. And maybe that was part of the appeal. They like Bucky ball, and they figured, hey, we have a chance to play. Going through, with each of these announcements, Jamie Vincent, and I said, well, A&M obviously played Texas, so I'm sure there's some footage of him. Well, he did not play in that game. I did find he was, because I used this story yesterday. I did do some video. I actually showed it on air because he was in the handshake line, and just coincidentally, I don't remember who it was, but they kind of had stopped for a while, and so my camera's just focused on Vincent on the back of his jersey. So
there you go.
We do somehow have footage of this guy, not playing, but he's there.
Tyler, you're a magician.
Yeah,
I just knew you were going to need that video. Let's get a little bit further into the two guys I'm going to highlight, Hill and Mgbako. Let's start with Hill because. The biggest headline with him is there at the bottom. He led the Wolfpack in scoring last year, which is kind of interesting at 11.5 points per game.
Some teams spread it out, but yeah.
Yeah, but there's some of his numbers. Played a healthy 27.4 minutes a game last year, 45.3% field goal percentage there. Just a guy that, again, the guards in this system are going to have to run around a lot, play really, really high-octane defense, press a lot, and then have the ability to shoot the ball and play that money ball, make layups, make three-pointers, and make free throws.
Yeah, I don't know this doesn't say the shots per game he attempted, but I would imagine that number goes, here, we can pull it up right here.
But the thing about him that's interesting while you kind of get that pulled up is he is a guy who, for all the talk about three-point percentage, he only shot about 20% last season from the three-point range. So probably a little bit more of that layup free throw guy.
And he didn't take a whole lot either. So he only took 1.3 threes a game. So not quite the sniper that you would team fans want to see. And then he took 10 shots a game. So 10 field goal attempts. I would imagine with the pace of play in this Bucky ball, if he gets the minutes, which being a Power 5 player you think he would, that's only going to go up. And it'll be interesting to see, because of this style of play, does he start taking more threes? Now, the year before at Bowling Green, he took 2.6, so still not a lot, but I mean that
still only shot 28%.
Right. So he hasn't been kind of that knockdown shooter.
What about the free throw percentage?
Free throw's not bad. 70 career 74.4. Last year was at 75.3.
Okay.
So I mean, so 2 years ago he attempted 6.4 a game. He only attempted 3 a game last year. But shoots at a decent clip. And again, I think the volume is going to go up with him in this system. I would imagine.
Looking down at here, trying to get his defensive rating and like a plus minus. The defensive stops, he's averaging about 1 per game. A little bit of a defensive. 10% defensive rebound percent, maybe a little bit more of a defensive leaning kind of guy here with Marcus Hill.
And again, with what we've been hearing about this system too, with how much they're going to press, with how not only is it an up and down, fast paced offense, it's kind of that way on defense too. They're going to full court press a lot. They're going to change a lot.
111 defensive rating is pretty good.
Yeah. So having guys like that, those guards that are kind of the defensive. I don't know if you call them a specialist, but defensive-minded guys will help for sure in this system.
Let's shift over to the real crown jewel of this haul so far, and that is Mackenzie McBacco, who is a 2023 McDonald's All-American, and he was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. It's weird how they word this, and they kind of put all this together, but if you translate that he was a 5-star recruit and then put him into players who have played at A&M, he would be the highest-ranked recruit A&M has ever signed. Now, they signed him out of the transfer portal from Indiana. They didn't get him as a freshman. But as far as potential, the highest potential player that they would have ever brought in, and he put some of that to show in his first 2 seasons at Indiana.
Yeah, again, not insane three-point shooting numbers, but not bad either.
For his size too.
Right, for his size, and he shoots a lot too. I mean, here per 40 minutes,
6'9".
He attempted over 7 threes a game last year. So a 6'9" guy, a stretch forward that you're going to have to, teams are going to have to honor him being outside on the 3-point line. That's going to stretch the floor. Very athletic guy too. So I think, it's interesting that would be the highest recruit had he came directly from A&M.
Defensive rating of 107 last year per 100 possessions.
107, and then 111 the year before that as a freshman. Pretty decent and pretty consistent from his freshman to sophomore year. He got a little more efficient. Going from his freshman to sophomore year, but I think his averages were pretty much the same.
12.2% defensive rebounding percentage. So he's taking care of the boards. That's gonna be the thing that I'm gonna be the most interested to see how it translates over from Buzz Williams' system to Bucky McMillan season, because rebounding was the focus.
Right.
Rebounding, especially offensive rebounding, was the focus. Buzz Williams had his own sets and the way that they ran their offenses so that guys could be in the right positions to offensive rebound. That's not necessarily the case with Bucky McMillan's. And so rebounding does, especially offensive rebounding, does help win games, but it's not necessarily one of the top 2 or 3 focuses of this new system.
Right. Well, I mean, you throw everything is important. Every coach is going to say, of course, rebounding is important. But yeah, it's
the emphasis.
Right. It's the emphasis. What is the most important? Because it was pretty apparent in Buzz Williams' system that you have to win the rebounding battle and you have to get on the offensive glass, and that is eventually going to translate into wins. That's not really the mindset here. We're going to see a lot more run and gun. We're going to see a lot. They're not going to drain the shot clock. They're going to take a lot of threes, and in today's day and age, a lot of teams do that. A lot of teams value the 3-point shot, value that that 3-point line. The thing that'll be interesting to see for me is how much they use that full court press on defense. How much are they doing 5-man rotations, or they putting in a whole new unit at a time? It'll be some getting used to because we've been used to seeing Buzz Williams the last several years. It'll be a very different style we'll see.
Here's the other thing, bringing up the roster and some of those heights too. Buzz Williams, he never really signed a guy that played significant minutes that was over like 5'9". And there was a purpose. The reasoning behind it. 6'9". Sorry, 5'9". 6'9".
I would hope they're over.
Yeah, there was all of them were over 5'9". 6'9". And his take was with the way that they play defense, which was in the half court pretty high octane, that he didn't want a 6'11", 7-footer who had no mobility, who guards could just kind of run around. And would not be able to get out and maybe defend the perimeter if he needed to defend the perimeter if they got into rotation, which is one way to play it. But it's interesting for how he talks about how high octane in the full court, but Bucky McMillan's offense is, that they won't shy away from a bigger guy who might not be quite as mobile, especially when you look at Alabama is kind of, you could maybe disagree with this, but Alabama is kind of the pinnacle of the money ball teams now, which is that we're going to shoot threes, we're going to hit layups, and we're going to shoot free throws. Those are the high percentage shots, the money ball shots. They don't really play that big. We're maybe a little bit more of a buzz-sized team in that regard.
They did, but Alabama's probably more like this, where they did have size. I'd have to, maybe we can do that on the fly too, but I'd have to kind of pull up their heights. I know that the size was there, but yeah, a lot of their rotations were kind of that small ball lineup. Again, Bucky is signing these, close to 7-footers. A couple guys that are 6'11". And then you're also looking at Federico.
Okay, so Alabama last year, 4 players 6'10" or above.
Yeah, and if I remember right, they held their own. Usually A&M out rebounded most of their opponents, but I think Alabama was one of them that did a pretty good job rebounding against them. So I think it's a mix. If you can get, playing that money ball, the threes and the layups, but also having size, that especially helps defensively too. And with how much Bucky will probably sub in and out, maybe some of these less mobile guys probably won't be on the floor for very long at a time. But they're there for a reason. You pick your spots with them, especially if you're going up against a lineup where you feel like your size is just going to be an advantage, and then you play your 7-footers.
So they had 3 guys who were let me see, 1, 2, 3. You had 3 guys who were 6'10" or above who were averaging double-digit minutes per game. So yeah, they played big.
I think especially in basketball, it's yes, small ball has its place, and we've seen that even down from the NBA. But when you have talent at that kind of size, I feel like you always take it. That's just such an advantage in so many ways. Also, I misspoke earlier. That the guy I was thinking of, because there's multiple guys from Alabama on this roster right now, that had that great high school career, is Duke Miles.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that was the state champion. And he's one of those guys that brings a lot of experience, coming most recently from Oklahoma, but he's bounced around. He's been at Troy and High Point, now Oklahoma. So he's kind of one of those, super senior guys. So
his numbers at High Point were impressive.
Yes.
They, of course, coming into Oklahoma, down a little bit, but he had some really impressive numbers, averaging 17.5 points per game at High Point.
Yeah, no, I think, and this is a guy too that not only is it the talent, but it's the experience that I think is going to help. So that I like that mix that they have right now. They've got, and I'm actually kind of surprised at how many of these veteran guys they've been able to get. But again, maybe it's the draw of, hey, come play for Bucky McMillan, and hey, come help build something here, and you'll have a spot.
Yeah, I think. Well, and the other thing too, without really kind of giving us numbers, Trev Alberts told me at McMillan's introductory press conference that they were going to support the program with NIL dollars, and that is seemingly evident. We don't know what any of these players demand or ask for, but that is the case. And then the fact of the matter is they still have work to do. We talked about Federico being at the baseball game yesterday with the staff. They are at 9 players right now. 15 if assuming the House settlement approval goes through and the roster limits are what they are, it's going to be 15 players. So they still have another handful of players that they can bring in to supplement this roster. And I mean that's either a full that's more first teamers or a scout team. I mean that's everybody. And you, while this is a transient time in college athletics where guys are in and out all the time, you want to have depth or have people at every level of the college experience. You're not in a situation where there's a big hole in one senior class, or one like last year where there's 8 seniors and then there's nobody, like A&M, the position they were in.
Well, even if Buzz had stayed, they'd still be dealing with 8 seniors. Pretty much every single key contributor is leaving. So no matter what, they were going to be in somewhat of a similar situation of just completely rebuilding the roster. So that's what you don't want. And I think some of these guys are going to be playing their last years. I think next year you start to really focus on kind of maybe recruiting more at the high school level and get some of the younger players to have kind of that balanced roster. Again, this season's roster I think is really just to get something out there. Then you're going to really start seeing, the kind of recruits that Bucky brings in and for more of the future. But for what they have right now, the talent, I'm optimistic that this can be a competitive team. I know that there shouldn't really be any expectations in year one under Bucky McMillan, and I'm not saying they're going to be like they were last year, but as far as being a competitive squad, I think they're starting to get the pieces to do that.
This feels like a team that might be middle of the pack, but could steal some big games with the style of play.
Right.
Which you could kind of say about Buzz's teams too, but it's a different style of play. They get hot from 3-point. Like it feels like a March Madness Cinderella team.
Right.
A little bit.
If things fall right for them, they could have a pretty good year,
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those that, and if they somehow made it in the big dance, I feel like any Bucky team is one of those teams that, don't let them get hot at the right time, and, then they start to bust some brackets there.
Sure. Real quick before we get out of here, big weekend for tennis.
Yeah.
Both teams out at the Mitchell
Busy
Tennis
weekend
Center
for
the
tennis.
NCAA tournament regionals. The women, of course, looking to defend their national title, and we talked to them on what is time anymore? Monday.
Yeah.
And just about the fact that they've done this before. They've gone through the whole process. There's less butterflies, less nerves about getting to where they want to be because they've done it before.
Yeah, and I think they could get back there again. It's one of those things that any given day, one singles match kind of goes the way you didn't think it was going to go. Not saying that they are going to repeat, but the fact that they've been there before and that experience, I feel like they're in a good place, and they're not going to have to travel nearly as far because they're hosting this weekend. Assuming they make it to the Sweet 16, they'll host the Super Regional, and then they're just going to make the drive up Highway 6 to Waco for the national championships. So it's all pretty much right here in house, and then to Baylor's about as close as you could be for the NCAA tournament site.
And then softball closes out their regular season at Tennessee, still
Big
ranked first in the RPI. This is going to be for a lot of marbles, but you got to expect that after that's and then the SEC tournament, there will be a College Station Regional right here at Davis Diamond.
College Station Regional, and most likely, assuming they get out of their own regional, a College Station Super Regional. I don't really see a way at this point that they're not a top 8 seed. Mm-hmm. Just the resume, very impressive. Again, they're just coming off just their second series loss. They dropped to Arkansas, but they salvaged the series. And now we'll see what they can do on the road at the very good Tennessee team. But that's kind of been the story all year is they just seem to play a top 5 team every single week.
Right.
Yeah.
That kind of seems to be the case with the baseball team too. What I'm hearing is, and what I know is the fact that while we feel like spring football ended and the crossover season is winding to a close, it's not anywhere close.
No.
Because there's going to be a lot that's going on in the next few weeks in Aggie sports.
Yeah. You got, softball and baseball doing what they're going to do, trying to get to the postseason, and both tennis teams hosting. Golf is starting. Again, they're not here in College Station, but their men's and women's teams are going off their separate ways to regionals here soon. And you got the track team, who the men are probably eyeing a national championship, or at least in the hunt for one, here coming up in the next month or so.
So much going on.
Yeah.
And we will have all of it covered.
Of course.
On KBTX.com, the KBTX Sports app, and we'll get to as much of it as we can here on the Aggie Game Day Extra podcast. So be sure to check that website, see this guy and Nicole and Morgan on the 5, 6, and 10 o'clock broadcasts of the news. And check KBTX.com for all of that stuff. If you didn't catch it on the news, we post stuff up there as well. So we'll be back next week to talk about all of this stuff and more. For Tyler Shaw, the absent Max Crawford, I'm Travis Brown. This is the Aggie Game Day Extra podcast. We'll see you next week.